Hi guys, welcome back to the barn. Hope you're all well. So I've pretty much now got to the final stages of building this router table / MFT worktop, and my next task is just to put some strategically placed MFT doggles across this table so I can use my Benchdog equipment, the fence, the square, to support the track and my track saw. When I was in the small loft workshop a few years ago, cross-cutting at my fold-down table was my main cross-cut station. So I just want to really replicate that here. As I develop this side of the workshop, I want to put some fold-out arms on the wall so I can support longer lengths across this table. What I'm trying to achieve here is 2 setting out points across the width of the table. One, so I can put this fence in a position where I can have a long length all the way through the window. So if I wanted to cut, say, a 12-foot piece, for example, I can slide it across the table, have it 6 foot that way, 6 foot that way, and I can make the cut. Mostly the stuff I'm cutting is shorter lengths. This square will be sat on the back table and I won't have to move it then. I can just leave it there and just slide the track in when I want to make the cut. So I just need to make sure that I get the old positioning right, leave some holes for probably for future expansion. So I'll drill some of these 3mm holes with this UK path guide jig, which I really love. I've had this jig now a few years. Yes, it's relatively expensive, but this is now probably the 4th, maybe even the 5th workbench I've made with this. So every time I make a workbench, I feel like I get a little bit of that money back. I'm going to drill 2 holes here, which will be the datums, if you like, for setting out the rest of the table, because these are important. They will mount the furniture for the rail and the square, and also them holes will then form the setting out points for the rest of the bench for the little strategic holes I need to make. Right, let's drill some holes. Okay, so for the moment, that's all I'm going to do with the 3mm. I'm going to keep most of these 3mm holes intact because I need this grid to extend to this smaller table. First of all, I'm just going to open up 4 of these 3mm holes into the 20mm holes so I can mount the fence and the square. Just get an idea that it actually works. I hope it does, because I've kind of committed myself now. And then once I'm happy that that works, I can apply this to this back table. I need to put some noses on this back table, which I'll do in a minute. They are the critical holes I need, plus a couple of bonus holes, to make this fence system work this side of the window. I will open some more of these holes up just so I can use the benefits of a MFT table. You don't really know which holes you're going to use until you get a project for them. So I'm not going to open them all up, but what I am now going to do is just ease these slightly, so it's just easy to locate the dogs. And for that I'm going to use this countersunk that my friends from Benchdog sent me a few weeks ago. I did show it a little while ago when it first came, but I did actually request it for this specific job, so I knew one day I'd get round to it. It's a very simplistic tool, but it's perfect for easing your doggos. It's just a ginormous countersink, 20mm hole in the top. They also do a 19mm should you be making 19mm dogs, and a little hardened carbide tip in there that you can rotate round. Does come with a little adjustment key, so you can just keep turning it round as it dulls the blade. Very easy to use. You just put it in your drill, right on the countersink. Good morning. The first cut is the deepest, so they say. Yes, it always seems a shame to make a cut in your new bench top, but it has to be done. The knack is not to set your saw so deep that you cut your new bench in half. Now that would be a disaster. When I made my outdoor workbench, I eventually cut a groove with a router to put a little insert in, a little zero insert, but in theory, with the accuracy of the MFT setup, that saw groove should always be consistent. So now I've got this front end set up and the saw set up and the saw cut in, I'm going to take this back board off, cut it to length, put a couple of nosings on just to dress the ends up so there's no raw chipboard showing, fix it down, and then continue this MFT pattern up there. So this Benchdog setup can also be up here, out of the way, and then when I fold this router table down, that stays in place. Now I know what some of you are thinking, you've not got your track sat down right on top of the melamine. And you're right, I don't. And I very rarely cut like that with this setup. I leave it hovering above because my timber tends to be sort of 18 to 21mm range. Then I don't have to adjust it. I made a video about it, which I'll put somewhere up here. Actually, it doesn't make that much difference. It's a perfect cut. As long as you've got a decent blade in your saw, and if it works on melamine, it works pretty much on everything else. When we used to work in the workshop years ago, these tapes, when you take them off, became weapons. We used to pull them all off and you'd end up with a huge ball, then you'd lob them at each other around the workshop. Of course, I'm not that juvenile these days. Maybe I'm not childish after all. Cool. Well, I've got a few little options with this now. So I can either cut with the table up, cut something really long out of the window. I can cut something really wide. I can get 5'6" in here, about 1700mm. Once I make some little fold out legs for over there so I can support timber on there, then I've got myself a nice little cross cut, and it's actually wide enough in this position to cut my favourite floorboard to length. So that's a bonus. This is one of the reasons why I didn't want to make this thing to fold up. I know people were concerned about accessing the sustainers underneath, but I wanted to keep it down because I wanted to do this with it. And also this is a nice little bench now. I've got MFTs, I can do some glue ups up here, or I can do some little bits of woodworking in here. So I'm happy with how that looks. I think I wasn't going to make another of these track saw rail supports, but I've just had a little bit of an idea with this shorter rail, or maybe I just cut a foot off the end of this rail. No, not really. So I think I'm going to make another one of these with a couple of beneficial features that will help. Thank you for Banggood for sending me the MFT countersink. Links in the description, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you guys. Bye.